And all right, now there's audio on the live stream. So live stream here. Okay, so thank you for the text that there's no audio. Now we're back in business. I'm not going to start again, but we'll start from here. So there are a lot of great organizations in our city, and what we want to do is build with them. Learn about the challenges that they're faced with, learn about the audiences, learn about what is going on in our city, and work with them. And use technology to empower those great social enterprises, community organizations, and not-for-profits in our city. And my famous drawing, of course. What we're doing here is we're bridging the gap. There are, there's become almost two camps. There's two sides to this equation, but the two sides are one side where there's the digital sector, the technology sector, has a lot of access to technology and understanding and are pushing it forward, advancing it. But there's very little connection to the social enterprises and not-for-profits and charities, folks working on the front lines to deal with social issues in our community. And we need to work harder to bridge that gap. We need to work harder to ensure that those same resources and opportunities are available to help these good folks on the left, these good folks doing great things in our community, help them do their jobs better. We need to share these resources, we need to educate and help. Random Hacks Kindness is one way to do that. There's lots of conversation out there right now of other ways to do this, but this is one way to do it. And Random Hacks Kindness, what we operate, we're a bridging facility, we're a bridging event that brings these two groups together. But we don't intend to be there, we don't intend to facilitate or need to be there. We just want to connect folks with connect folks that want to do good and want to help out with organizations and causes that resonate with them, and we want to connect the expertise and the knowledge to the groups, and then frankly get out of the way. There's no reason why these organizations have to exist in between. We just need to start that connection, catalyze that connection, and then get out of the way. We've had a lot of really great success in doing this. Now, not every project will go on to launch, and certainly, if history tells us, not everything in our experiment we call Random Hacks goes on to be successful, but some do. iGen Ottawa was a project out of the last hackathon in April, and it produced this great community listing, events listing, to help promote Intergenerational Day, which was on June 1st. The first one in Ottawa was on June 1st, and much more to come from that over the next year, and we're happy to be a part of that coming together and starting here at Random Hacks. This is a project from a few years ago, but this is an interesting story because it embodies a lot of really what the best things of this concept. You don't know, what's going on with the beehives. They could get knocked over. The colony could freeze. Lots happens in, over the course of a week when you can't you can't go out and just walk out into your backfield and monitor beehives. Anyways, so there was this. What was built was this smart monitoring system for beehives. But what came out of it was a little business, and so there was this partnership between the folks that worked on it and the college, and they came up with this little social enterprise, this little business that's going to try to sell these devices to monitor beehives. Now, this isn't, the concept of giving back is changing. This isn't, the fact that they're turning this into a business is great. That money and that profitability of a business goes a long way to sustaining really great ideas. And this is a good idea. We need, our bees need a lot of help. And this it's the real key part of our ecology. And to make a business out of it is the right way to do it. And so, we certainly support, businesses that want to make money, social enterprises. Anyways, this is one of my favorite stories, and they're still, trying to get this, get it up and going, but it's, I really like the story. Refugee Hub, maybe a year and a half ago, launched a educational platform for lawyers and to train lawyers on how to do private sponsorships for refugees. Gourmet Express, the great people who have fed us all weekend, they were here a year and a bit ago, and they needed a way to take orders online. If you don't know Gourmet Express, they are a social enterprise. They have folks who have a hard time finding work, and they train them in the culinary and hospitality industry, and then they continue on into the world. But they've fed us all weekend. It's been good food. Occasionally we have hardware projects too, which are always fun. And this one is from Parkdale Food Center and Growing Futures. They've made this a grow tower where you can grow greens in just in a community center or in a building, and they have 50 or 60 of these grow centers across the city, lots in Ottawa community housing communities. And what they needed was a remote sensing device. And so this was built over the course of a couple hackathons, and some folks here today worked on it, on the different parts of it. And so yeah, again, like you can work on hardware and on all these things that send data back and forth. But we certainly have the expertise across Ottawa to come and help. And this is another one of my favorite ones. And this hackathon is going to be no different. We had fantastic projects, which you'll hear from, and I know that everyone made a lot of progress. I want to make sure the teams do introduce a little bit of the business challenge that they were faced with. So I won't go into too much depth, but we worked with the Ottawa Safety Council, the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centres, Even Hand, Stopgap Ottawa, and Getting Out. These are all, it's a wide diversity of causes across the city, but all really important, all making a difference, all out there like on the front lines, just having an impact every day. And these are the organizations that don't get a lot of attention, don't get a lot of funding, and have to struggle for every minute of volunteer time, for every dollar that they get in. And so this kind of weekend, this kind of effort, the impact that you're having this weekend is going to go a long way. And so I urge you all the participants here today to, stay on with the project, follow on with the project, see it through to the end, because it doesn't have as much value as a prototype, but it's going to have a lot of value. You see it through, and you see it through to the end, and it comes to real fruition and value. So I urge you to stick around for sure. But like I said, you're going to hear a lot more from them in a couple short minutes, I promise. Before we move on to the presentation, I want a big thank you to our sponsors. Our sponsors are great because not only did our sponsors help pay for and cover and provide for this great event, but they're also here. They're also, people come, some of the sponsors come and actually are focus on the great work, focus on the participants, and give a safe place to work. Rebel was where I work. Mentioned throughout the weekend about, we provide hosting domains and all that, but if you need anything, just come ask me. We'll give it away for free. And Jay's here. She works at Rebel too, and she's in finance. So but we support, and this is how we give back. UITV, Jason was taking photos. He was behind the camera. He's still somewhere over there, taking great photos, but he's been a supporter for a number of years. Click, Tamimi works at Click. Thank you, Tamimi, for the support and being here for the last number of hackathons too, but also helping out. Lighthouse Labs, Sarah is here. Somewhere Sarah's back there working on the Ottawa Safety Council project, but Sarah's representing Lighthouse. Canadian Banknote, Brandon works at Canadian Banknote, and we brought great little duckies for everyone. So they're there, and then we also had, Extreme provided our networking and coffee for our whole event, and Paul here, who's been here all weekend again, as works at Extreme.
Monkeys.
And the monkeys, they scream too. The monkeys scream. Thanks for that, Paul. And then a brand new partner for the weekend is Google Cloud Platform. Bjorn and Henry helped out, and they're providing all the digital infrastructure for this weekend, but also sustaining these projects over the next couple of years. And that actually goes a long way, and we appreciate that a lot, so that we don't have any hindering or counter forces on innovation and trying new things. So that helps out a lot. And other folks have helped out too. They're friends. They've been here before. Folks at Internet Society, Industrial, and FlowStack Solutions. They're not here this weekend, but they help out too. Okay, so big thanks to sponsors, and you know, I'm sure they'll be helping out for hackathons in the future too. Okay, so you know what? That's it for me. I appreciate you taking the time, because I really value this time to get some of these thoughts off my chest and get these thoughts out there. So thank you for indulging me in that. But we'll get on to the project presentations now, and our folks at Evenhand are up first. Come on up. So again, there's food and thing. Some food left. Anyways, if you want food, help yourself. Yeah. Get started. Do you need the notes from the slide? We can just look at them. Okay, so just you need to plug in. You're doing a project.
Yes.
You need a computer for live.
I'm just gonna let it try.
You need a computer for live demo. Well, I'm gonna plug that into the computer so it shows up on a different screen. So. Okay, over to you.
That's the deck. This is the live deck. Yeah. This is the live deck. Okay.
Hey everyone, so my name is Marwan. We are the Evenhand team, and we're gonna go around the room. We have such a huge team, and so many people have put in so much effort in this. So,
I'm Leah. I'm a designer.
I'm Susanna. I'm a designer.
I'm Sunny. I'm a UX designer. Shri, designer as well.
My name's Adam. I'm a product manager.
Jesse, researcher.
Kareem, developer.
Janki, designer. Oh, UX designer.
Neil, developer.
and we also have Paige, who was also a designer in this team, and Philip as well, who was a developer on this team. So my name is Marwan. I was a designer on this team, and we are Evenhand. So our product is a web application that provides users with visibility and access to speakers from diverse groups across Canada. So Canadian organizations are increasing their diversity and inclusion efforts, but it has mostly been volunteer driven. And diverse panels haven't really been a priority. So there is an increase in these efforts, but there's still a representation gap from people from diverse groups.
So, to bridge this diversity gap that we see so often in panels, here's Evenhand's approach. Our first goal is to create an inclusive and cohesive web app that's easy for our event organizers and speakers to use and navigate. Our second solution is to create a search engine in the Evenhand website that filters well and provides our event organizers the information they need, accurate information, and also meets their speaker needs. Our third approach, our third solution, will be based off of the search engine. We're going to try to limit decision fatigue. A big issue with event organizers is that there's too much information and not enough time, so we at Evenhand seek to improve.
Okay, so let's meet our user personas. So let's meet Bob Jr. III. He is an event organizer from Ottawa. He's 25 years old. And he really is trying to create events where he can bring speakers from diverse backgrounds. However, he's struggling because he doesn't have enough time and enough resources to actually put enough time to research and to actually find those speakers. His digital proficiency is high, and he usually uses his personal memory, his personal network, social media channels, and the referrals in order to sort of find these new speakers. So what he needs is a big enough pool of speakers from diverse backgrounds that he can search through. He needs an app that is easy to use and that has good filters so he can have and find quickly the right speakers for his event. He also needs enough information about the speakers so that he can make a decision about who to invite quickly. And he needs to be presented with few options and optimized options so that he doesn't get tired and overwhelmed with so much information. Meet our speaker, she is Bobette. She is very passionate about her career. She really believes in her message, and she wants to increase her visibility and and she also wants to include her perspective in the conversations that are taking place out there. The problem is that she doesn't have a big enough network. Anyway, she is 32, she is from Ottawa, she is a business consultant, and she usually searches for places and events through social media, internet, through her personal network, and through traditional advertising. So what she needs is, she needs to receive more invitations from events. She also wants to build a strong business and a strong brand. She wants to increase her visibility, and she wants to also receive the same opportunities that her other colleagues are receiving, such as compensation, enough invitations, and opportunities so that she can advance her career. Now, let's take a look at the prototype.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so in this case, so in the prototype, so this is what the final application would look like if we are completed with our development. And so basically, this is a landing page, and
here you can search, so let's say if I'm looking for a speaker, so I'm, an event organizer and I want to find a speaker that specializes in UX at my next event, it would take me to a search page in which these results would be randomized so that these top 4 results would never have display the same speakers. And from these, you can actually filter out by the user preference. So if you were looking for someone that is close to you, you can sort these speakers just by distance, languages that they speak, what their expertise are, and also experience. So after that would actually narrow down the speakers that are based on your preference. So here we show that we're looking for a UX designer who specializes in graphic design, visual design, and live in Toronto, and that would narrow down the speakers. So after we click the user chooses one speaker that would like to speak at their event. That would lead to the profile page, in which the speaker can actually learn more about this the speaker and what their expertise are. And it should scroll, but at the bottom there is a contact info, so that you can see. And here is a video of them speaking. And now we're going to show you the other flow from a speaker perspective.
So because it's a database for speakers, essentially the speaker would go and register themselves. So first either log in or register. So this would be the login, and in case they're like a new speaker, they sign up. So they start creating their profile by adding their name and occupation, and also decide the topic of interest, the years of experience, their social media links, because yes, we are on this platform for visibility, and also uploading their photos, their biography, and then complete the profile. Once the profile is completed, this is the profile page. It has all the social media links, their title, their biography, and in case if they have like previous talks, they can actually upload videos there too. So it gives the organizers a chance to take a look at how they've presented earlier and what their talks were about. Also, and because it's also a platform where we want to connect event organizers with speakers, they have an option to like message them, but we also want to make sure that the event organizers are legitimate and the speakers also have like a good platform to expand their skills and knowledge set, and also have opportunities. So we're asking them to like register their organization with just few basic details, and that's it. So this makes it seamless, and by not asking them to register earlier, it makes it easier and a faster process for the event organizers. And now off to the live demo. Oh, they did?
Alright, so we split the application into a front end and a back end. The front end is from React, the back end is from Painted Rails. We used Heroku and Netlify to deploy both of them. I think mostly just for ease of use, quick to get up and running, you integrate with GitHub, you push, and things get automatically deployed.
Yeah, so I can do a quick demo of what we have on the front end. So we kind of focused on getting like a rudimentary search up. And as Ty said, we didn't get to interfacing between the backend, but what we ended up doing is we have kind of like a little ETL layer going back and forth between Rails and Algolia. and then we are using the Algolia REST API on the front end. So you can search like from the home page. So for example, by like a speaker name, and then the speaker shows up. And then for the purpose of like not looking completely fake, we have, we're using the integer IDs coming out of Postgres and then doing modulo against our random images so that it doesn't seem like totally random images. Obviously this is a little bit out of sync. But yeah, so the idea is like this is kind of the high level of the short list. The front end was mostly React, and then for styling we did Bootstrap for kind of like the grid and everything, and then we implemented a design system based on what the designers came up with using styled components and some CSS modules.
So, what's next for our product? So our next iterations will go as follows. We would like to continue to build out our version 1, have it be fully functional with the prototype we had in mind. Our second step would also be have real user groups to test out the kinks and then to add more functions that we can't see. Third product would be to add more future features. Eventually, we'd like to see this product be larger than just a database. We'd like to include a news feed or a home feed so event organizers and speakers alike can see what kind of events are going on in their neighborhood. We'd also want to add voice command. Accessibility is a big issue for us. It's one of our values to be inclusive. So as many inclusive features as we can do, a voice command is definitely our first choice, our first priority. Third feature we'd like to add is a more advanced filter option. We want not only the speakers to create their own tags and topics, but through our user testing to find out the best categories and trending categories and all those good filters. So our next steps is to continue working with Open Concept, our hosting platform, to better produce and serve the product. We want to create a full-fledged marketing plan complete with digital and traditional marketing to make sure we're captivating the biggest audience possible and letting them know about our product. And our final step is to make it more compliant with the WCAG accessibility standards with the goal of gaining a AA accreditation. Here are the links that we used. And we thank you very much. We hope to create more meaningful conversations around Canada. Thank you.
As part of this, I encourage everyone to ask questions. I have a question.
What's your question?
I've been wanting to explore my a career as a public speaker. And I didn't see though. I mean, I want to make some money doing it. I didn't see a lot of aspects of how, how much I can possibly charge or make money off of speaking. How do you see this money aspect playing in?
Well, for you in particular, you should keep your expectations low.
Serving it cold.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so to answer your question, for our MVP, our first product, our main priority is just to get the event organizers and the speakers the foot in the door to make that connection first. We want the speaker and the event organizer, ideally, for now, to communicate with each other via email, via something else, and that is something for the speakers to negotiate the price. It's a really good question. It's definitely a feature that we want to continue with, but we believe that the speaker should have negotiating rights, and it's something they should address outside of it. Right now, we want to focus on just making that connection and letting people know that this database exists.
As a further business model, there is a HR component that we can explore with wonderful people like Sharon, for example, who did the brilliant inclusion and diversity talk. Would it be possible to bring in consultants like this so that after an organization uses this platform, it's at that point that we say, fantastic, you've had this event, how about we look at your entire sort of organisation at this point, and that is when the organisation can be compensating the consultants.
So for those who didn't hear, the goal is to make Evenhead a non-for-profit and to make the connection and then eventually implement an HR resource that allows us to talk to organizations and say, great, you booked one of our speakers through our platform, how can we make it more diverse and how can we build a long-term relationship?
Another question? There you go. Really good job. Way to kick it off. Good start. Sri, you want to take it? Amazing. Okay, so we have Getting Out up next. Come on up, coach. We just switch over. Demo, but I don't mind. Do I have the demo go to the far screen and then
Yeah. Okay. I could do that. Oh, I'm sorry, I could do that. The presentation is on.
Wait, glad you have the demos on the screen. I just like run everything up. Okay. Do this one.
Okay. I could do the split screen as
Understanding in solidarity. Morbid and nice.
Good. Awesome.
Alright, so people think about questions after them. I gotta point to random people to ask questions if I don't see. Totally too. Just get it right in the red zone.
Okay. I'll do a quick show to all of us, and then you guys. Test. Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Hello.
Hi all. First of all, thanks again for everybody showing up. Single time I come to this hackathon from tech, from the people that I meet, and it's very cool. So I want to give a round of applause to everybody. Second, this time we partnered with Winter Walk Ottawa with Senior Watch Old Ottawa South, SWOOS. And we came together to put together a quick demo MVP for an idea that they had in mind, and we tried to bring their idea to life. So my name is Tamimi. We have the team, Harry, Phil, Gabriel. Oh my god. And we got Nick and Guy and Adam, myself. Well, I'm literally forgetting everyone's names. I did not forget anyone's name during the weekend. And yeah, so Hardy and Gabriel, take the
Okay, so our goal for this project was to encourage people to get out in the winter, even when the roads are slippery. So basically, there's a big problem with slippery roads in Ottawa, as we all know, and we wanted to encourage seniors, volunteers, or even like mothers with many children to walk outside even when the conditions are bad. So what we wanted our project to do was report sidewalk conditions in the winter and view the level of safety of the paths around their area. So you could tell if it was safe to walk outside or maybe you should take another route. So as I mentioned earlier, our potential users would be seniors who wanted to be active in the winter, volunteers, maybe like high school kids who would want to help out and monitor the roads to make sure that like the data on our app is good, caregivers who
this project, we started with just whiteboarding and getting ideas out there with an entire team, including the user that we have and the client. And once we sort of clarified what the needs are and what the scope was for what we were doing, because it could be definitely a much broader scope, we had to narrow it down to the most important things that we could get out of the MVP. So then we worked on some paper wireframing, and then we received some feedback and aligned with the developers and the users, and then we used Figma to rapidly prototype, iterate a bunch of times, get a lot of feedback from people again, and then we tested it out on a mobile device too. So sort of our user flow for a prototype was basically focused on a map view. So in this MVP, there wouldn't be any kind of login. That would probably be down the road. So it would be something where you come onto this web app and you see a map, and you can see the different colors in terms of the safety and how safe it is and what the conditions are of mostly the sidewalks we're talking about, because this is more related to kind of like someone walking around in a neighborhood. So you would see the map, and then say you were outside and you wanted to add some information into the system to update the conditions, you would just add and then tap different points, and then you can quickly just kind of say, is it safe? Should you be cautious, or is it dangerous? And also report on whether there's ice or snow piles. And then once you submit that report, that information can help other people decide whether or not, it has to be very we considered a couple things, a lot of different things related to accessibility, but one example is color blindness. So we tried to choose some colors that had Thanks for your input, and that's it. So we tried to make it very, very simple, as few steps as possible. Okay, and I'll hand it off to the development team.
Alright, so for the development process, we decided to keep it simple for the sake of the weekend. We used Vue.js as our framework of choice. We did a lot of vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we used Google Maps API. So this is kind of from the front end perspective. From the back end, we used Firebase database to upload all the data we want into the database, so that if anyone would to launch the app again, we could just query all the data that was inputted by some other user into the database. We wanted to keep it simple and easy to scale and accessible as well. So we did have a server client architecture, and we created the app on, so it was like a web app on a website, that if anyone would want to create another mobile app, they could just query the data from the database. For a demo perspective, let's see what we have for demo. Okay, so this is what we have for the demo. As soon as you open the app, you'll be prompted with this map view, and then you could just, as you're walking around, you see a road situation. So you click on Add, and then you choose the start and end path that you had and you saw kind of like a situation for the condition of the street. And then let's say you say it's a dangerous condition, there was slippery ice and snow pile. So you just submit this and it gets added to the database. And then someone else comes and adds, let's say Gladstone, this specific block, you add and you say you gotta be cautious when you come here and it's only slippery ice. And then this particular block, it's safe to walk on, and you just update it. So you would see that it gets updated there onto the map. On the back end, our database, so we keep updating all the different kind of elements or points that gets added through by users, and yet to implement. We will add a way so when you refresh the map, it queries everything from the database. So these are all the points that were inputted by other users, and it could update the map with the corresponding line and the colors. Do you want to add and say a point on the thickness and the time on these? Okay, so we added another property as well, another functionality that you can tell that the red line is thinner than it's getting thinner than the other one. So we are adding like timeouts on how long it would take to get updated, so that
If you add another point now.
yeah, now if you add another point, for example, let's say we'll add from here to here, and then you add it, the other points gets deleted. So let's say for a specific timeout, we want to say after X amount of hours, minutes, or whatever, refresh the map or put new data. We also have something else that I didn't show is the ability to add a marker. And then you could just say this area in particular, there's a stop in here, a bus stop in here. This marker is like, this area is dangerous, like be careful, over here there's a lot of slippery roads, or over here the situation is safe. And then over here it's kind of, let's say another state, be cautious. And again with the same idea, these circles, these markers get smaller and bigger as time passes by. And I did cover most of the things, functionalities from the development perspective. I'm getting nods, which is good. Everyone in the team did a good job in working together, so we really had good synergy between us. We split each other between a back-end component and a front-end component, and the front-end team kind of as well split between the maps side of things and putting everything together. So that was nice. And the nice thing as well, we each kind of, even though we split, but we're working in parallel independently, and we would reconvene every once in a while and put our work together. So that was nice, and we're getting constant feedback from the designers and from our clients as well. So it was really nice working together with everyone as we progress in increments of progress. We kind of see this growing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Did I miss anything? Good, awesome. All right, so that is pretty much it. This was with our first name was Ice Ice Maybe. Okay, so this is our Ice Ice Maybe app. Please let us know if you have any questions, if we have anything. And there is more slides as well that for future development. From a development perspective, we do have some things to work on, from refactoring and updating the map, refreshing the different points and lines that we had. And from a non-development perspective, we want to talk about the future development.
Yeah, just some things that we weren't able to do this weekend. Another thing too would be something like a voice capability. So like, using an assistant or command to be able, especially if you're outside and not able to look at the map, if you want to ask, oh, how are the conditions on Laurier between Bank and Lyon or something, you can, it will be able to tell you as well. And also being able to upload photos too when you're recording. Connection to social media, and also a big one would be to feed in information to City of Ottawa databases for 311 and 511, and also get information from City of Ottawa about when a plow has been by, when sidewalk plows or salting type things have been by too. So there's definitely a lot of potential for this to grow. So yeah.
speak until someone asks him at least one question.
Guys, let's go.
Oh,
Go.
Okay.
I have two questions.
Yes.
Can I ask two questions? You didn't show, you showed how to feed information in, but you didn't show how to get information out. Maybe you didn't get that far. And what about timestamping the information? Like, is that a feature?
Yeah, so I can just okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So
That's not an answer.
yeah. So every data point to our database has timestamp to it. So the information is there, but we haven't kind of used it on our application. From a time perspective as well, we did include a feature that's an adjustable feature on as time progresses, the marker reduces in size or the color fades. So this is something that could be done. From retrieving data from there, we do have a refresh button, a refresh button over here that for the time being, someone could click refresh and get updated on the map. But these are features that could be added. We were building the infrastructure that would support future implementation of these features. I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, sure. Just like in terms of monetization, is there anything that you're looking at with this app, or is it more going to be like a free app with ads?
We could add ads. we haven't thought of any like monetization purposes. The whole aim behind this is crowdsource information as much as possible, and the only source of monetization would be sponsorship from other things that we could think of. But yeah, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I think it's wonderful what you have accomplished, and I know you have suggestions for the future. So, how can we accomplish that? Do we go back to random hacks, or I don't know? Is there somebody we can talk to, like you to me?
I think we could speak after.
Okay.
See what we can do after this, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. There was a question at the back. There's a question here.
Okay, so what I was just curious, like if you have two people's opinions in the same area, how do you validate which is cautious or dangerous?
Good question. For the time being, we override it.
Okay.
The latest one.
The latest one, yeah. So if someone puts dangerous and you don't think it's dangerous, just go override their thing. But like that's also like another thing. So this is a feature that we could add. We talked about different things about like either averaging out the entry points and giving like a color scheme over an average for like how bad it is, or have an expiry date, or
it's just going to be a rainbow line, just to
exactly. So
better go check that area out.
Yeah, and also in the future too, we could have where you could click on a certain line and it could give you a little bit more information about what the conditions are, and maybe
when it was updated.
Yeah, when it was updated, like a weighted sort of based on time, and I don't know, like maybe future things could be certain volunteers going out, they can, when they have, this is just a off the cuff idea, but they can have kind of like a profile and sort of a reliability scale or something like that too. But.
So we collected information that we still did not use for like in preparation for future usage of those this data, this metric that we collected. Yeah.
Amazing. Nice guys. That looks great. Good work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, great work. That's a lot of obviously a lot of work with that, and good job. One second while I get video feedback. Okay, so auto safety council, come on. crosswalk. One on the picture, slides up. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I have a slide in here.
Yeah, that's
Okay, yeah, you can plug in the demo right here. So, that's what you're.
Hi everyone. So our team worked with OSC to implement our app, which is Crosswatch. So our team's challenge was enabling coordinators of the different intersections that our crossing guards look after every day in the morning and every day in the evening for the children to cross safely to school. So in Ottawa, we have 240 locations, so intersections that have to be attended by a crossing guard, and all across Ottawa from Stittsville to Orleans. And the challenge is making sure that there is a crossing guard currently attended at each of those locations. So right now, there's no visibility, there's no way for you to know. And if somebody ever calls in, it's a manual effort to make sure, just calling in who might be available, who might back it up, and there's absolutely no visibility. And it's just one coordinator trying to figure out how to make sure, all the crossing guards are where they're supposed to be. So we have 250 crossing guards that have to attend to these crossings all over Ottawa, and there's one coordinator that's scrambling to make sure that they're all attending. So we have to make sure that we make the coordinator's job as easy as possible. And for the crossing guards, just for them to have a very quick way of letting the coordinator know just to check in, and the coordinator would just have a way of seeing it all across Ottawa. So this is what they had to work with before. So as you can see, you see a very cluttered view of just the areas in Ottawa and what the crossings are. So these little icons of guards are just where the intersections are. So some crossings require 2 people, but there's no indication if anybody's actually there. This is just where they have to be. And the red pointers are for schools. So what we wanted to do is to add something to this view to show them the real-time status of where everybody is and whether they're all taken care of. So our solution. We can have the guards have a simple app where they can just check in, and it would send their location on that map, so it could be displayed on that map, and the coordinator can know which places are covered and which ones are not. And to have a holistic dashboard where the coordinator can see which ones are absent and to kind of figure out how to cover it accordingly. So from the crossing guard's perspective, once they're at their location, they will just check in that they are there, and it will send that location to the system where the coordinator can see that, okay, their location as they sent it is covered, and it'll display on that map. So this is our kind of next view. So as you can see, you see some reds, some greens, some yellows. So the greens mean that the crossing guards checked in, and the yellows mean that we didn't hear back, and the reds means that the crossing guard actually canceled and said that they could not show up. And those are the ones, as you can see, they're a lot bigger, as a call to action for the coordinator to handle those specific areas. And there's ways of filtering and just get a general count. So we can show you that through a demo for both the crossing guards view and the dashboard that the coordinator will get. So I'll leave it to Sam.
Testing. So the demo.
there's two sides of the app, as explained. There's the app that the guard uses at the location. So the guard, I'm gonna sign in as John. I'm John today. And the guard logs in. And since the guards are usually territorial, they already go to the same corner every day. You see them every day. You say, hi, John. They say, oh, hey, Margaret. And so the schedule is kind of permanent. The schedule is already it's kind of a constant. So John here, we know that he has to be at the Yonge and Preston intersection. So when he's there, he can't just like say from his house, oh, I'm gonna go there and then not show up. So when he's there, what's gonna happen is that he just clicks on I'm here, and then as you can see, it sends the longitude and the latitude, which is basically gonna help us to put it on the map. So for now, there is like no backend connection. So it's kind of easy to fix it after, but we're still working on it. And then here's the good part, is that on the admin side, since right now, I think Alfred told us at their office all they have is like paperboard. Yeah. It's 2019. So of course, website on the admin side, just so they can check the status of the locations and act on that. So here is like an example of the map, and it's interactive where you can kind of see the markers, and then it has like useful features where you can filter through the markers. You enable the red ones, disable the red ones, etc. So now like the admin is more in control of what's happening. And yeah, so like let's say he wants to see a location, and especially like Bank Street and Sunnyside, it will zoom in, and usually it would show a details page. Yet to come. Just invest and we'll do it. And, yeah. And I'll pass it on to Kevin for the rest.
You want to speak on the back end side?
Yeah, I think we did the right one. Okay, yeah, architecture. All right, yeah, hopefully we'll try to demonstrate to everybody that there is actually something being worked on the back end, and yeah, we hopefully convince you guys that it's the problems are manageable enough to be overcome. They're temporary roadblocks. So, being the ambitious developers that we are, we went out to look for the best framework possible so we can write the least amount of code. And for us in this case, we chose Django because it's the most batteries included approach. So our overall architecture, basically there's two endpoints where you can access it. There's the cell phone side and the WebSocket, and the browser side. Most importantly, I think how Hussein demonstrated the map before was that it looks relatively sort of static. You have to mouse over it to see a link update, but how we try to design it is actually for it to be fully dynamic, so that way when somebody checks in, you can see the thing will go from yellow to green for them checking in, and then yellow to red if they're supposed to be there, and then they're not there without a touchable button. So that introduced some technical challenges that we thought was pretty interesting. So how do we try to solve that? That will require some bi-directional communication between the browser and, yeah, it's on us slides. So how the dots will actually update in real time as things happen. So we have two sorts of events then in this model. One is from the cell phone, which generates a sort of present at the location event, and then on the other side, it needs to be time driven. And so we tried to write a task scheduling service that runs in the background that's triggered by the start and end times of a shift. So that would also change the state of each dot, and then both of those will get fed to the WebSocket, which will update the map in real time. Why does it not work? I think it's because we try to choose a framework that was too built out, and if we had a bit more time, we would have researched how it works a bit more. But the technology is there, so we are fully confident that it will work out. And maybe I think my colleague Tom could speak a bit more about some of the specific challenges we face. Do you want to talk about that, or is there any? Or we'll just make it sound like we're making excuses. I don't know.
I mean, it took us like most of yesterday to get everybody working on the same environment, with like Python trying to move it across different machines is a horrible, horrible thing. yeah, and I guess we just hadn't used Django in a while and jumped on, and yeah. That's all I got.
That's all we got, we're still. Yeah, so as you can see from that, we generally had two separate like front-end apps and then like the back-end and data store. So working from the Crossing Guards app side was one, and then the admin or coordinators dashboard is just another separate front end. So that's how we split up the front end teams. A lot of us worked on just the general UX and layout, because one thing that we had to really narrow down was just the scope, that our main goal is giving that visibility and to speed up the coordination process. You have 250, one coordinator, and they're just doing everything manually by phone calls, and all the numbers are on the whiteboard, and just figure out where they are and who can back up where. So our main goal was visibility, but with later iterations, we can help either automate the process or do like more connections or give more view in that actual dashboard, or things that can help the crossing guard ahead of their check-in journey. So on that note, we can go into possible future features. So since we use Crosswalk, right now, like any of the crossing guards that are in the system that can just check in and the location will send accordingly, there's no sense of who is the primary crossing guard at that location that's expected to be there. So we can actually match it as part of the registration as a primary one, and whoever is in the same neighborhood to act as a backup. So in case they do cancel, we can provide a way to automate contacting the backup through either a push notification or something that would limit the number of manual phone calls, especially if it's a really bad cold day or with a blizzard, freezing rain, where you really need a crossing guard to make sure people are crossing, but more and more people are calling in like that they can't make it. So it would help to quickly find backups. So through that, like replacing the phone calls would help, especially since there's one point of failure to maintain that. Another important feature that would be related to adding an incident reporting functionality. So as a crossing guard, once I check in, I might have a page where, even though the phone's generally in my pocket and I'm doing my job, if something were to take place, someone runs through a stop sign, a kid falls, I had to leave for a minute, I could take pictures, write a small description, and that can actually move on to the proper channels. So providing that would definitely support the crossing guards. And upon check-in, you can maybe see weather updates or something to prepare for as the crossing guard, just to dress accordingly. And from the admin side, we can, that same dashboard that we showed, like once you click on a specific crosswalk, you can get more details related to the zones, schools in the area, how many guards are actually required, because some of them need 2. And so just any information that's relevant, that will be a quick way to click and see. And this can also, because there's a lot of shifts that are updated ad hoc, like we can have a way where it logs into HR, so who covered what shifts, how many shifts like per month, like if that's involved with payroll, so just expanding the system and integrating it accordingly. And another useful thing would be just analytics, so this month, how much coverage was there, just to give like a metric for improvement, and if there's more hiring that needs to be done, and just any actions. So all of these can be laid out.
Just one question. This is certainly potentially very neat, but is it predicated on hiring only crossing guards who have a smartphone?
Right now, we built it through an app. Like we did have that discussion early on of how was it done before? Did they have like little paging systems or anything like that? So it could be like right now that's the system. So it could be if you don't have a smartphone, you can be accommodated according to what I'll call instead, and there could be like a back end person to change it. So that's not ideal, but it could be if you do have a smartphone and opt into the system as part of that, like maybe you can get like an increased pay, or just because you're making the coordinator's life easier. Otherwise, they'll just have to keep a note that, okay, this one, I shouldn't expect to see that this will stay yellow on my system. Like it won't be red and it won't be green. So definitely maybe an incentive program as a rollout would be a start to get more and more people to opt into it. It's like an extra step to expect of the crossing guards, but for people to see the value across the board. It would definitely be like a slower buy-in process, but hopefully like more and more people will opt into being a part of it.
Yeah.
Also, just to add something, the guards are also paid employees, and for some jobs you need certain requirements. So, for example, you're a plumber, you need a cell phone to make the calls between the clients. And for the guards, it's the same thing. If we care about the safety, imagine a world where our children can just leave the house and go to school, and we just chill at home. But yeah, it's a job requirement, and it was fair to assume that 80% or more have a cell phone.
It seems to me you could have, Joe's just got a flip phone, and he just sends an SMS. He sends an SMS to a number, and it knows it's from Joe, and he says one, or he just types one, and that means he's in. Your system just interprets that input. That would be.
We still like Joe, so there can be SMS integration too.
Yeah, as long as the channels could be multiple, as long as it's
Exactly.
that it can be validated that you're where you say you are and whatever. And because of the nature of this job, there is an honor system, a trust system. You're not going to say you're there when you're not, because it's not the kind of work you would expect that. So the more.
Right. Those are human issues, not technology.
Yeah.
But you need data, right? You need data to get in there.
No, SMS.
Actually,
another thing is we did have a possibility of stipend too to mitigate any sort of financial burden that people may feel that prevents them from. Stipend was actually offered by Mr. Alfred over there. So it was approved.
Not a question, more of an offer. About 5 hackathons ago, there was an app developed that did click to call and click to text. So I know where I would say 80% of those folks are. And so if you guys want to come back or reach out to me, I can definitely make the introduction for you.
Right. Yeah. And also we did discuss that internally too about the possibility of a text message, but at the same time, we did feel that, well, at least the sponsor did feel that the location data is pretty important, just because there's contractual obligations with the city, it's a commercial contract, there's legal liabilities, personal injuries, and all that stuff. So with SMS, unfortunately, like if there's a way to sort of embed geolocation data into that, but at this moment, that'd be a really cool idea. So.
No, but like essentially you see like the heat map where all the guards are, right? So like a mouse over of where Margaret's supposed to be. Where's Margaret? Right click, call it, right? So that's something that we had working in about 5 hackathons ago for different applications. So
Yeah, for sure. And we do envision this like to be in the office where let's say it's just on TVs, and if there's some red that just pops up that way, which is more prominent there, that if there's more than one coordinator, more than one person can go.
All right.
Yeah.
Last
I was
question.
going to say this app seems to describe the relation between the crossing guards and the administration. Is there any view to having this be more public facing, where people can report if there either isn't a guard at an intersection or there's an intersection that can really use a guard? You'll be able to report that.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good suggestion, especially if the guard themselves, if it stays yellow and it's are they or aren't they, like it would be good to have another channel to have that updated, just to know to action on it. Because a lot of times with the yellows, you could just say, well, they just didn't do that extra step of logging in, maybe they don't take off the gloves in the winter. You don't want to just assume, like the more channels for information, the better. So whether it's through this app or just another channel that users can know, we definitely could. And yeah, just before we leave, just to have a quick run through of the team. So.
I am Hussein, and I'm a developer.
No, Tom, back-end developer.
I'm Kevin, I also develop on it.
Sean, developer.
I'm Mina, UX designer, and I help with this one.
Yeah, and I'm Louise, same thing, mostly with the UX design and general approach, and a bit of the front end.
And also our colleagues in the back who for some reason won't come up. And put your hand up. We have Charles and.
Alright, so we're clear
Right. Stopgap, you're up. Come on up. Thank you, that's amazing. This is fantastic. Good job. Yeah, so you can plug in a phone into into this. That's why it's why don't you plug that into here after the phone demo is done? No, it's gonna be there because I think this is oh no, it's fine. Yeah, 10 minutes from now. Yeah, right. So, okay, so this computer to go back and forth, and then you plug that in for the demo. Okay, cool. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably just
Are we supposed to see it on the
No.
I've seen someone else with this.
You got it.
The second copy of the presentation, so that's not ourselves.
All right, take it away.
All right. Hello. All right, second last, you guys can do it. Second last presentation. So where was Stopgap? Sorry, I just want to, and this was going to be Stopgap with 2 P's is our working name for it, if they'll let me keep that name. So Stopgap reaches out to businesses with, am I too close to the mic?
No, I'm just checking to make sure that it's plugged in.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So Stopgap reaches out to businesses with single-step entrances and offers to make them custom ramps so that wheelchair users and other people with access needs can get into them more easily. Want to say thanks to Kenzie and Christina, who was here yesterday from Stopgap Ottawa. Done an amazing job. Had really good ideas. We're willing to work with our changes of plans, which we had a lot of. So behind me is my team. So we have the back end, which is Max, Jacob, Jake, other names, Andrew and Patrick. And then front end we have names are hard. Jen and Louisa and John and Dave who are not here, or Dave is back end. But yeah. And yeah, I think the whole team worked really well together. We have an app that looks beautiful thanks to design and works thanks to backend. So hopefully we can demo that.
Yeah. I'll talk briefly about what our challenge was. So Matt alluded to our challenge was to build a tool that allows folks to nominate rank locations. As you guys, most of you heard about on our first evening here. So from talking a bit more to Stopgap Ottawa, thanks Kenzie and Christina, our aim became more specifically to increase both the quantity of rank locations nominated and also the quality of these nominations. So increasing the amount of information that Stopgap Ottawa gets about these nominated locations, like allowing folks to include photos and details about the location, like the width and the height of the step. And this helps them to determine if a location is actually eligible to get a rank. So right now, Stopgap has this great form, and so we're building upon that in a few ways, or metaphorically at least building upon it. We actually built a progressive web app, which Patrick and Jake will probably tell you about more in a minute. So who are, or why I guess is this an important problem? Stopgap is being run by this great group of volunteers. For example, Kenzie, who's here, is an extremely hardworking leader in this organization, and she doesn't want to be going all the way up to Barrhaven to determine if a single business there has 7 steps, say, when the person who submitted the nomination might be able to provide that information when they nominate the location. And especially as this initiative is growing in popularity, this becomes important. So we're designing both for folks who are submitting nominations for ramp locations to Stopgap, and then also for Stopgap volunteers like Kenzie and co, and so they can get the right information about potential ramp locations. Now I'll pass it to Louisa to talk about what we built.
So we decided to simplify the steps for people to use it, but also have enough screens to accommodate all the questions that need to be answered. So for example, is it a business? Are you the owner of the business? Include a photo, and then some basic dimensions to help the volunteers and founders of Stopgap to determine if it's a good fit or not. And let's do a walkthrough. Please. I need to find a cursor. Where's the cursor? All right, so we decided because we're going to build, building a progressive web app. It will be primarily on the phone, so we decided to go with the smallest screen that you can find on the market generally. I lost my cursor. Okay, it's hard. So as a refresher, because I don't expect everyone to know, off the top of their head, this page. So as a refresher, before you nominate, do you have an idea of what a single step business is? If the answer is no, you can try again and come back later. But if the answer is yes, you go next and enter the business name, address, and if you're a business owner who wants a Stopgap ramp, you can just simply check yes as this business owner. The next step is that you can take a photo or two. Voila. You actually have a ramp.
Yeah.
The next step is completely optional, but is to help the volunteers determine if it's a good fit or not. Is the sidewalk flat? Does it have a wide enough entryway? And is the step between 2 and 9 inches, which is like generally the height of your iPhone? And then, that's the last thing. Last step, we'll drop her a line and chat about the next ramp. And when you submit, you say thank you, but also reminding you if you want to do this again, you can simply save this web app to your phone. It will show up as a shortcut. So next time when you see a single step business, you can go directly to this and capture it.
Next, Patrick is going to walk us through a live demo.
But,
So the other screen, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. So this is the real web app running on my phone right now. Cool. So this is the actual application. It's written in React, but you'll hear a little more about that later. So I'll just walk you guys through it. We can, answer yes because this is a business that we can actually have a step put in there. You can go to the next page, type in business name, address, and then you can answer if you are the owner of the business or not. In this case, I am not, so I'll say no. You can upload some pictures. This does work, but I don't really want to open up my library right now. And then you get some optional questions here, like I mentioned before. We'll just answer yes to all of them. You go to the next page, and since I'm not the owner, it's not mandatory to leave your email. If I were the owner, I wouldn't have the option here, so that they can be contacted because they're interested in having a step. So obviously they want to be contacted. So I'll say no here, and then I'll submit, and we got a thank you page, which needs some work. So I can just demonstrate, this is a progressive web app, so I can turn off my Wi-Fi, and we can go back to the home page, and you can see it loads, I can refresh over and over again, and everything's fine. So if I fill this out again, it's a little bit tedious, but bear with me. I can actually submit the form even when I'm offline. I still get the thank you message. We store it in IndexedDB in the browser, and then we set up a sync event using a service worker so that later on we can actually send that when you're back online. So that's pretty much it for the front end.
Alright, so I'm just going to talk briefly about our tech stack as soon as I switch the monitors back to the right source. Good enough. So here I've got a great collage of amazing logos. We left it to you guys to connect the dots. But yeah, so these are all the tech stack components we used. So on the front end, it's made with React and, as Patrick briefly went over, a progressive web app. So basically what that means is once you load the site the first time, the entirety of the site, all of its assets are cached locally, possibly indefinitely depending on what your phone decides to do. But the entire website is available offline for you to use, including the upload. The uploads are cached, and then the moment you get back on Wi-Fi or a stable network connection, they're uploaded in the background without your interaction. So that allowed us to make a website that's super easy to share and send to other people, but still works offline and without having to put the burden on Stopgap for having an app store listing, paying Google and Apple a bunch of money, and all those other terrible things involved in actual apps. But another big thing we wanted to get done in this project is build it in a way that's sustainable for the business without having them have to interact with the backend or like update a server or anything. So for that we found these Google tools amazing. So we've got Google Cloud Functions, which allowed us to write all the logic of our app to run in the web without having to maintain an actual server, so there's no updates, no maintenance at all, pretty much. We've got Google Cloud Store, which we're using to store the images. So that means the images are available very quickly wherever you are. Pretty much just stores images. We've got Google Firestore, which stores all of our data. So again, that's a cloud-based product. There's no need for anyone to update it. It won't just randomly break, hopefully. But there's very little risk to the business of having to hire an expensive developer to come in and fix the stuff that we've left for them, hopefully. So that's pretty much the tech stack. I think I've gone over a bit of everything. Yeah, on to, give me a sec, sorry, my presenter notes disappeared. On to chat, I think.
Sure.
Something else.
You also will talk about some ideas for what's next. Yay, great success. So, technical difficulties. Yeah, they're just a mysterious window appearing over top of the slide.
Oh, that's a different person's one. Okay, good on.
I got it. Yeah. I think it's good. It's fine. Great. Oh, there we go. So we're showing all this sort of public-facing bit, but an important bit that we didn't show is the side that Stopgap organizers will see. Part of the database data, or part of the submitted data, or all of the submitted data, I guess, will be shared with these folks, and this bit is definitely still a work in progress, but it'll include data like photos of the location of nominations and information on whether they meet the criteria, and we talked a bit about how we can make this more efficient for Stopgap organizers, so like some sort of conditional formatting, so the locations which are good locations or appropriate locations for a ramp to be installed will be quite obvious and save them from going through hopefully what will be hundreds and thousands of nominations or at least a bunch more than they have now. Louisa also has some exciting next steps she would like to talk about. Sure.
So we recognize it's very important to showcase, this as an option in the public space. So there are opportunities to use QR code is making a comeback. You can simply scan using your phone. For example, if you use your phone camera to scan this QR code right now, you will go to the demo that we have live.
Do it.
Encourage. But of course, we need to partner with businesses that are also socially conscious and also willing to host these posters with QR codes in their premises to tell people about that they can, in fact, nominate any one-step businesses that fit the criteria. And of course, those quotes can be subbed into ramp-related puns and jokes, making it very interesting.
So yeah, we've got a few other things about what's next for the technology side. So one thing we didn't demo was the kind of more back-end-ish display of all the data. We need to put some auth on that so that random people can access all the form data that's been submitted. We need to deduplicate submissions so that Stopgap isn't overwhelmed by a bunch of duplicate submissions for the same place. And we need to add a little more virality. So as you saw the thank you page, not quite up to the designs. We need to have an easy way of sharing it that prompts the users to try and get more people to add businesses, as well as prompts the user to save the app to their phone.
Well, you should. Thanks. So you should actually take a picture of this QR code right now and check it out. Thanks everybody for listening, and thanks so much to Stopgap, especially Kenzie and Christina. It was a pleasure working with you, a lot of fun. You're both a wealth of knowledge. And I'm personally excited to hopefully keep working on this in the future. And of course, thanks to Brett and Co for organizing this fantastic event. Yeah, that's all. Also, you can answer questions if you have them, or if you don't like asking in this very intimidating format, I'm happy to chat after, and I'm sure others are as well.
Just one suggestion. As soon as I see enter the address on a mobile app, I immediately wonder you should just have I'm here button and it geolocates it.
Sorry, so why I can't, so why aren't I using GPS?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was definitely an option. I think Luzo especially was very excited to work with Maps. Sorry, not to call you out. So we really wanted it to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just and I'm sure the software's got the brains to know it's a smartphone and it would show it conditionally or whatever. But it
Yeah, that will definitely be a step. I think it just we wanted it to be really easy to use. Have a data plan of 5K. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
This is more of a observation. How come it's not the landlord's responsibility to ramp their storefronts?
Yeah, because if I can try, do you want me to try to answer the question, or do you want to go?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, it would be,
Yeah.
but it's not an ideal world.
Yeah.
There's this Ontarians with Disabilities Act that doesn't really have a lot of clout. So technically, they are supposed to do that, but there's no enforcing.
there's nobody, there's a little bit of enforcing, so it's enforced for government agencies. It's, you know, anything that's, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, anything to do with government. But if a private business or a home or like a new condo building, etc., there is nothing that's actually enforced to say that you must do this. And a lot of store owners are renting, so they'd have to actually ask their landlords to do that, and the landlord now can say yes or no. I mean, you could sort of fight it, but that would take a long time and be costly to be really doing.
You'd think it'd be like regulated, like even from the contractors building buildings, like if there's like safety standards, electricity wise, all these things, like should be that consideration.
You think?
Yeah, you really think, yeah, sorry, disabled person as well, yeah, you really, and yes.
Assume that it's part of the checklist.
You'd think so, but the regulations have no teeth.
Yes.
Yes, if you're a private homeowner and you would like to have one of these rents, what do? But, you know, I would be willing to pay for it, but I don't know, I find them so handy, these stopgaps.
So we do focus on businesses, but we have actually ramped some homes, especially lately. We have Stopgap Ottawa community ramp built, and actually we're having one next weekend at Makerspace North. If anybody wants to show up, they can find us and sign up on Eventbrite, little plug. But we have actually had some people approach us to do homes, and we're thinking, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So if people want to ramp, whether it's their home or their business, we'll ramp them. But our main focus is on business because we're such a small organization. We don't want to we want to actually stick to what's doable.
I had a general question about the organization. So is it just purely ramps, or is there any updates to like maybe the door design? Because some of them don't make sense in terms of how you can get in or how you can reach for it.
Right. No, we're specifically and strictly ramps. Yeah, and strictly one-step businesses. Yeah, mostly strictly one-step. Mostly.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks, guys. Fantastic. All right. Okay. One more presentation. Almost there.
Yeah, it's here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to show it. I mean, it could. No, I thought it was in PowerPoint. It's got the right. Can we just show it?
As you know, we're talking about this.
I have it. Oh, sure. Look at
each requirement to see what is something that it's absolutely doable or possible or it's not gonna work, which ones it should be pilot first versus more like a future state for the product roadmap later on. So here is what we defined, what we want our chat platform requirements and capabilities. Privacy, anonymous, stay anonymous, regardless of different chat applications. Flexible for different centers to cater their different needs. Simple to use, very intuitive, very simple. Enable login feature for support worker. Enable regional options for support seekers so they could choose I'm from XYZ and then the platform will triage to the right appropriate person that is closest to the area that they're at. Triage the chat request, so to eliminate like the wait time for support seeker and to triage the chat as soon as possible. Available worker. Desktop app for support worker. Able to, as soon as the chat is engaged, all the terms and conditions and the consent automated message will appear on the seeker side, so they know that it's engaged, just wait and we'll be there. The block options for the support worker, user interface and design system. Show status of the chat, so the worker would know if the support seeker has still active or already left the chat room. Capture and share the transcript at the end of the chat if needed. Emoji capable, so that will try to make up the lacking of emotional cue that you would have had if it's an in-person counseling or in-person face-to-face meeting. So that's crucial to make it more approachable. Easy to maintain. That's important because all 29 centers they operate all differently, and we need to find something that is so easy for them to maintain. AODA compliance, that's very important. Language options, because there are people who are in English is not the first language, they will have a chance to pick their language and map to someone that will speak the language. Email notification to support workers. So some workers actually working remotely and they're on 24/7 on-call basis, not actually working on that regular shift. So an email notification to let them know there's a chat request, can you accept it, is very crucial. Abide by the FIPA and GDPR requirements because these are there's a private information, so we need to abide that requirements as well. So this is sort of like our wish list at the beginning yesterday when we defined them all, what we want. So after that, we came up with personas to define who is a support workers and support seeker We also map out different customer journeys that it's from a custom support worker point of view and from the support seeker point of view. All the pain points, the emotions, any kind of room or opportunities to improve with the current customer journey. We're going to show you what the front end looks like. We're going to talk about the front end quickly.
Okay, so this is the front end, and basically it's a layout of taken from the original website, so it's based off of it. The color scheme is the same. At the bottom, on the About Us section, there's sort of an explanation of what the Ottawa Rape Crisis Center is, and also there is a live chat, which is
it's garbage.
So it has this functionality where it would open up a chat box just like this, and you would get a message if somebody's available to speak to you currently, you could have a chat right here, and where you would build upon this is you could take it and sort of be rerouted to a call center near your area, maybe, and have a chat locally, or if you prefer to not have it locally for personal reasons, you could talk to somebody elsewhere. Here you could also learn more about the website and kind of get an understanding of what it's about, and also get more help. So if you need sort of counseling for the situation that you're in, this would be sort of the layout, and the layout the support people could visit, as well as the people that need help. So I think we can pass it on to Matt.
Yeah. No, not yet.
Or not yet?
Not yet.
So, one thing to add was we wanted to make sure everyone could visit us and access our resources through multiple ways. So we have a lot of front ends, so that was just one of them. That was the one on the website. We have one where it's through a tablet. We have one that's through, it's integrated through other apps like WhatsApp and Messenger and whatnot. And I think talking about the backend very quickly, the main challenge we had was how do we make all of this anonymous? We wanted to know as little as possible about who was using our resources, just because out of privacy and like the confidence they have in us. And we came across Matrix. And Matrix is this backend server that basically makes everything very anonymous. And Super, if you want to talk about that a little bit. Oh, gotcha.
We want, before we talk about the backend, which is very important to make all this work, we want to show you what is from online, from a support worker point of view, what does it look like? We have done some like Wi-Fi support type, so Erin's gonna talk about that.
So we put together some interactive wireframes just to kind of give you an idea of what the UI would look like from the support workers view, and then quickly a support seeker for a chat box. So support workers need to actively accept the chat. They need to be prepared both physically and mentally for it. So they accept the chat. They see this view, so they have a chat taking up most of the page, and then a menu option. So they can either turn on or off a timer, depending, because their work a lot, they mainly want to spend 20 minutes to more on a chat or on a call. When they get above 90 minutes, that's when they look for resources on how to move forward and get this person more services or de-escalate. So they can open up suggested responses, working on what that might look like. And then they would chat with their support seeker. For local resources, they could have map options if someone tells them they're living in Ottawa, but the support worker is actually in Timmins, and they're not sure where the support services are in Ottawa. They can go into their resources and say, hey, did you know you have somewhere to go in Timmins? And let them know. And then from previous versions, a big issue for the support worker is a support seeker would have left the chat and they didn't know. So we built in that they would see a notification that the person had closed the window and was no longer there, and not just taking their time in responding. So at that point, the support worker could end the chat. They can confirm that they want to end the chat, so it's not done by mistake. This view would be for administration, so it's exactly the same. You just have an administration tab where you can see transcripts or stats on times of calls and number of calls. And then this would be the view for the, or an idea for the view for the support seeker. So we specifically aimed for something very discreet, something that looks like many other chat options, no branding, and a very quick way to exit if the support seeker no longer wanted to be using that on their phone or on a web page if someone came up, or if they were no longer comfortable and safe using it. Okay, so I'll pass it on to the back end.
Yeah, so right now we're gonna do a live WhatsApp demo just to let you guys just have a taste of what this look like.
Yeah, so this here is called Riot. It's built into the server we stood up that uses the Matrix. So like as of right now, this is what we have as our backend. And the one of the things that we did get working is the WhatsApp integration that's built in. So right now it's using like my phone, but the real in reality, like each stack would have their own WhatsApp account to connect in. So I know some people have already messaged me. Maybe Jacqueline, you could send another message, and Subra or Kim, if you want to send a message too, we can see them. They do just come through my phone. I'll make sure I'm still connected. So yeah, I don't need to. So Jacqueline's message that she just sent came through there. Yeah, so this one. Oh wait, sorry, not Jacqueline, anonymous person who I don't know. That's also, it's good because one of the things, so this backend we use Matrix, and Super talk some more about the backend. It's open source and it has a lot of plugins already available to use. But some of the main challenge we first saw with this with this WhatsApp one is when it sends it in, it'll send it with, like as you can see here, the user's WhatsApp display picture, which we will not want. And the other is the name that comes in, right? So as a future, very, very near future thing, we would want to, they have APIs that you can go in and you can change users' avatars. So as soon as we see a WhatsApp user come in, you know, we'd grab their user ID and then we would change their display name, change their avatar. So then that way, their identity is protected. So as of right now, I did that manually and I couldn't get rid of that dog picture. So I just left it, send them back to the others then. So that was pretty neat to get going. I also did Facebook as well, which worked, but also the server address was in California, so it constantly locked out my account. So, because it needs an actual account to bridge through, but it was pretty straightforward to set up and get going. Well, sorry, it wasn't. Once we got rolling with it, it was good. But yeah, and that's it for that.
So, I would say my major takeaway was I came to know about this new server called Matrix server. Just to give you a background that the project which we were working on was very open-ended. There was nothing even closely related which is being done or was there which we could pick up and start. So as with any coding projects, initially there's a lot of architectural decisions which we take, wireframes, how the processes will look like. So probably we don't have anything concrete to show that end to end what is working, but we just give a head start to the organization that whoever takes it here on will not have to spend on the initial system design or things like that. Talking about system design, I had a chat with Kim and gave her a couple of options how the system design inside Matrix, because Matrix is a server which deals with its own server and also identity servers like on application services like Facebook, WhatsApp, and everything. So there's an architecture involved inside Matrix itself, which needs to be decided based on the organization needs. I've given Kim the pointers which needs to be thought about. Once they, I'm seeing a lot. Okay, anyway. That doesn't mean that I didn't do any work. I did do some, apart from eyeing. Anyway, that's it, I guess.
No, he did do a lot of work at it. He did mention that he proposed like 2 potential solutions in terms of the server, the architecture that it's sort of like me and Kim actually, most of us having the aha moment, like when he's trying to, so he does that's sort of a big part of the puzzle for this project. So moving forward, I think we have defined, looking at the user requirement, we have defined what we can pilot on the first phase and what are some of the items for the future state. So prototyping and start really defining all those user stories, because all the support workers from 29 centers, they will encounter very unique stories, tasks that they accomplish. So we need to define all that and then do tons of prototyping, tons of user interviews. But at the same time, I think we'll still have to have show like how from the server side, the backend side, what will be the most favorable, what is the most viable solution for the centers, and we'll probably pick like a few centers to pilot it first, and then once they're all happy with the after the alpha beta launch phases, then we can start to deploy them with other centers and fine tune them for each center's needs. So it's a long way to go, but I just want to say thanks to the organizer helper and gave us this playground for us to connect with people that we might not be met like on the street. We might make some really meaningful work, good cause. This entire weekend is really meaningful. Thank you. Yeah.
Just make sure you ask questions which I can answer technically, which proves that I did some work.
So Matrix forces you to create rooms between two connections. How safe are the rooms? And the rooms are hosted on their servers, right? So how private is it?
You want
Yes.
Good.
So like what?
Thank you for asking that question. It will validate that I did look into some things. There are a couple of things inside Matrix which we had to figure out. There's concept of rooms, there's concept of public rooms, there's concept of private rooms, there's users inside the rooms. By default, when you create a room using any SDK, maybe Python SDK, Java SDK, or whichever SDK, the rooms are private by default. And a room can be a conversation between just two users, that's also a room. A room can be a conversation between a couple of different users. And therefore, in my architecture, which I was proposing to Kim, I told her that because there are 29 different locations, so there can be one of the architecture, matrix architecture would be one matrix server, which is the OCRCC matrix or something, or dot something. That is the main matrix servers, and a couple of rooms can become each room can become one location. So yeah, to answer your question, rooms by default are private, and it uses the app Signal, its cryptographic, its encryption algorithm. So they are end-to-end encrypted. Go ahead.
I have a question more so like before the live chat. So let's say a user enters the live chat. Have you guys thought about like little prompts or like doing a tiny questionnaire beforehand? Is that to like kind of better prepare both people to have that conversation? Did you guys think about
Yeah,
that?
this is a very delicate issue. That's why one of the major purpose of this project is not to ask any question.
Okay.
At max, we can, in some scenarios, we have said that people can ask only one question inside the chat, that where are you from, so that we can connect you to your local community or to that particular location. So no questions asked at all, just start providing support.
And as well, there's always the option not to answer that. So you can put in what region, it wouldn't specifically ask where you are, but we're thinking more regionally based. So if you're in Northern Ontario or in Toronto, you put that region check, select that from a dropdown, or not answer at all. With some older systems, you used to be able to enter like a first name you want to be referred to, or you can skip that and it goes straight to anonymous. We wanted to avoid anything mandatory, just in case that was a barrier to reaching out.
Yeah, and just sorry, we did a pilot, so we got a chance to try some of these things out on pre-built systems. And having a automated moment to say, thank you for reaching out, we may be on another chat, we will be with you shortly. We also found from the support seekers that was very important for us to do that reach out. The other thing is them to know that if they start to disclose certain things that they need to know to give themselves a chance to not disclose because they're by law, if you're under 16 and you've been sexually assaulted. So there's some laws that we have to follow. And we also found that if we gave them that option to put their name, we got about 50% would actually put a name in there. Them putting a name in was very helpful to the support online facilitator to be able to facilitate a more personal conversation with them using that. It might have been, it could have been a fake name, but that was also an option. Surveys, we don't, because of the topic, of course, we were mandated to put a survey at the end of the chats. Very few people filled it out. You're there for usually crisis support. It wasn't something that was accessed very often. And the other thing that Xubro had also offered was an architecture that would allow each center to have its own server.
Yeah.
So to control its own data, information, record keeping, which was also really important because each center has their own governance structure policies around record keeping, which is a nightmare when you're trying to have a hub sort of style. So that was also, yeah, yay!
You had a question for Woman in Black, beautiful hoodie.
So, like, what if, like, someone, let's say, during, like, an emergency scenario, like, an emergency scenario, like, if you witness someone who is being sexually assaulted and you didn't, like, let's say you didn't come to, like, call the police because some woman might not be comfortable with the police, like, I thought of, like, an emergency feature, like, because I feel like with this chat room, you're not sure, like, how long the wait time is, so is there like an emergency feature where they can just seek help like right away if someone is just in the act of being assaulted, like is that like a feature that is on the page?
Yeah, to answer that, I would just say that we did not do a good job with our presentation. But the Matrix server is not only just about chat rooms, it's about all other different ways. Like for example, you have Facebook, the organization will have a Facebook page where you can talk via the Matrix server, which will create the anonymity. So for example, I'm the organization, I have my own Facebook page or my WhatsApp phone number, and you are the person who is seeking help, then you try to contact me. I will have a specific WhatsApp phone number or a Facebook link, ID, username. You will contact me, but everything will come in the middleman is Matrix, which will anonymize anonymity. It will increase the anonymity in that thing. So it's not just chat rooms. It's every other possible ways to communicate. Even SMS and emails are also possible, but we did not explore SMS and emails.
But in a situation like that, it would be 911. It would be more appropriate.
So can I just, sorry, in terms of that's more of a process. So what would happen on the website, they all would have the chat icon, but if it's an immediate, if you're looking for immediate support services, you either call, because they're not always online, or you call this number. They also, a lot of sexual assault centers also provide accompaniments to hospitals if someone is seeking that kind of support. So what we were able to do with the online facilitator side of the box was to create those emergency numbers so they could actually facilitate some of that happening, just like they do with the crisis line. We tried to think about what we do on our crisis lines and how we would facilitate that through a tech tool. So they wouldn't change their process, but how they would communicate it would be just a little different.
I think there's one more question over here that on a scenario like that, 911 is more preferred, right? So the thing over here is we are not dealing with people in emergency, but we are dealing with people after emergency, which is post-traumatic scenarios. When you are something bad happened to you, you are trying to deal with your own life. So.
Thank you. Amazing. And big thanks to Kim and Monique and Julie and Brent and Jacqueline for traveling from London and Toronto and Wilton and Winchester. I think from Winchester. All right, Winchester represent. They traveled far distance to come to Random House, so it's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, participants. Everyone, you guys did a great job, lots of hard work. Stay in contact, and stay in contact with RHOK. We're going to be doing this again in about 6 months. I have your email addresses, I will reach out to you that way. Follow on Twitter. I'm going to be sending out a survey tomorrow morning. Please fill it out right away. As soon as you get it, it won't take long, I promise. And yeah, and that's it. Okay, so thank you. Have a great next 6 months. See ya.